You know what?
We're live. We are live, people. Welcome to episode 34 of the weekly. And with me are our usual hosts, starting off with Sam, who is clocking in and out, but there he is, aka Black Iron _ Man. How's it going, man?
Hey, how you doing, everyone?
All right. He has a new camera angle this week, followed up by the one and only Mr. Juan Carlos Bagnell.
Hey guys, I'm sick as a dog, and so I'm gonna keep sucking on these cough drops and drinking a whole bunch of fluids, and hopefully not share too much of my biology sounds with you fine folks out there.
And finally, and hopefully you get well soon though, but finally we have the one and only freedom fighter. I mean, sure, yes, aka Warren Bowman from BW1.com. How's it going, man?
I fight for the freedom from notches.
That's right.
Phones.
All right, let's get the show on the road. Samsung said, forget the notch, forget the dimple. It's all about the foldable displays. But before we get into that, I forgot to ask, does anybody have a uselessness for this week? I'm sure there's one. There's got to be one. Please tell me this one.
Not it.
Okay,
well,
so
it's not a useless. Something
related.
We were all talking about PC rebuilds and stuff, and maybe going Team AMD instead of Team Intel. Have you guys been keeping up with the scores on the 9900K?
No, I haven't.
I haven't.
So apparently, because this CPU has had difficulty actually making it into consumers' hands, like Intel doesn't have a lot going on, that the thermals are kind of out of control. So if you really want all of this crazy horsepower at the price of this $1,000 chipset, then you've got a really hot PC. If you keep the thermals in check based on Intel spec, then it's performing within 1% or 5%, depending on benchmarks and who's benchmarking it with AMD's 2700X Ryzen. So just an interesting little bit of Team Red, Team Blue. The processor battles continue, and it's getting pretty crazy, you know.
That's not good.
1990s all over again.
It is. I mean, again, clock speed versus core count versus optimizations. And then this is also going hand in hand with the fact that, like, by what is it? We're going to see new tariffs in place January 1st.
Yeah.
So those of you who are out there in the PC building community or
buy now
gaming community,
this
Black Friday is going to be real important because components like power supplies, motherboards are largely manufactured in China. So any products coming out of China might see anything from a 10 to 30% price bump, depending on the component. RAM and storage prices should hopefully be leveling off and dropping. But now would be a good time to look at what do you need to rebuild and what do you need to replace. And, you know, this November might be a good time to shop some sales.
So you're saying that we should be very cognizant of where our devices are being made. So besides just PC parts, I guess basically devices coming from China would be an issue.
Across the entire the CE spectrum, all of the consumer electronics being sold throughout the world. If your components are largely manufactured out of like South Korea, for example, or Taiwan, maybe you won't get hit as hard. Chinese produced goods are probably going to see some price increases, and we're already hearing from system manufacturers like Dell that cost is essentially just going to be dumped directly back onto the computer as they import consumer as they import parts.
Okay, thanks for that fair warning there, Juan. Yeah, I'm building my PC next week, so
I'm rebuilding next week too.
You guys are like a year late, but anyways.
I'm really not though. I'm only behind. I waited for my my 2970 WX, so I'm right on.
Look at you going baller at 2970 WX. Okay,
I'm overbuying.
How often do you upgrade though? Because you sound like you're doing a 3-year build.
No, my current system's an Intel 5820K.
Yeah, come on.
So 2011 V3 chipset, and I was gonna do another processor swap, but that was not really a great play. So
at some point you have to be like, hey, upgrade now, spend the money, and then basically don't have to upgrade for another 3 to 5 years.
That's what I'm hoping for, and that's why I'm overbuying now. Is really, I'm not looking for a speed system. I'm not looking for a Ferrari. I'm looking for like a big old fat diesel truck and something that will hopefully multitask well over the next 5 years.
But it sounds like you've got a diesel powered Ferrari.
Well, no, the 2970 isn't really a fast chip. In a lot of software benchmarks, it's outperformed by the 2950. It's when you're looking at one task at a time, this is actually not the wiser purchase. What I'm hoping to do though, and my experiment, so I'm going to be doing some videos on this, is I want to be able to render 4K video at 60 frames per second with a 100 megabit per second bit rate and still be able to fire up, you know, like Photoshop or GIMP and work on thumbnails and have Word open and write a script. Right now, it takes me around 3 to 4 hours to render a 30-minute camera review. And if I touch my mouse, there's a very good chance that that review is gonna bork. So my computer is down for 3 to 4 hours to knock out one of those really, really high quality camera reviews. So that's the test.
And you're doing 64 gigs of RAM, right?
And I already have 64 gigs of 3200 speed RAM.
Okay. Did you make I think the 2950, 2920, the WX series, are they ranked at 266 or 3200 in terms of their front side bus?
No, it's I believe they're 266, and again, I overbought there too. So I can still tap into an XMP memory profile, but again, I wanted something that was overspec'd because I'm looking at system reliability and I'm looking to make sure that nothing is near its upper limits.
I will say from my own experience, because I've been on the AMD platform since last year, actually probably a year ago since now.
Because you went from a 1950 to a 2950, right?
Yeah, and it was literally just a processor drop in. That I just had to make sure the BIOS was updated. Beyond that, drop in, and it was good to go from there. The one thing I will say is that one of the reasons I did switch to an 2950X is I'm allowed now to use my RAM at the full speed that I bought it because I have 3200 RAM. But when I had a DDR2, when the RAM supported DDR266 on 1950X, and I believe that's on a WX platform, try to overclock to it, it can be a struggle. I think the Mac got it too, because it really depends on the silicon and the chips. And if you lucked out, you might be able to get or overclock to that if you have the right setting. But for me, I think I was able to get it to about the 3066 is the fastest that I can get to without having some type of issues in terms of like
and honestly. And honestly, I'm okay running things slower than those parts are actually rated for. Actually, the reason why I went 32 instead of 3000 was just because it was the same price. Yeah, like it was like I might as well get the slightly faster RAM if it's going to end up being within $1 of the slower RAM. But again, my big experiment is to see I am okay losing an individual benchmark because again, 2950 because of the way that AMD is doing these multiple cores and the fact that the 2970 has the same thermals and the same power draw as the 2990. I'm okay losing an individual battle or an individual benchmark if this system really can keep me productive while it's cranking on some really high quality video. So that's the big hope. That's something that I'm in desperate need of an upgrade now. As I built this workstation thinking I'd be cool with 1080p video and maybe 1080p video at 60 frames per second. Ooh, how powerful. Now I'm trying to use it to cut substantially bigger video projects and substantially weightier bit rates, and it's just not keeping pace, and that's where things need to change.
I would definitely advise anyone that's building an AMD, especially a third-party system, that it loves fast RAM. The faster your RAM is, the better performance you're going to see out of your system. It really takes advantage of it.
Yeah,
we do have a show that needs to start.
yeah, that's right. I mean, let's kick it on, guys.
The show has started. What are you complaining about? What are you talking about?
I feel like this is tech relevant right now.
It's tech relevant. It is tech relevant, and I think it would be nice to get more into overclocking and stuff, but yeah, the show is good.
All right, let's kick it off with what Samsung showed off this week. They announced their foldable display to a mixed reaction from the tech crowd, I would say, at least from my survey on Twitter. So I want to get everyone's thoughts because Samsung showcased this display. It was in a shell, so you don't see the proper design. They did state that it will go into production early next year, so we should expect to see it sometime next year. The display folds out to a 7-inch tablet, if you will. It's got a front display as well, and then also runs Samsung's new One UI, which maximizes finger location. I would call it that because you don't have to stretch to the top or be like an iOS user. We have to go to that back button on the very top of the device. So they actually talked about things like that with that. But what are your thoughts? Because, and I'll leave my own thoughts to the end, but I want to get everyone's thoughts on that. I'll start off with you, Warren. What do you think about the foldable display?
It's cool tech. I like to see that somebody's finally putting this out here. To me, it's going to be what device and how it comes out and its usability. Like I'm glad they announced it, but I'm more excited. I want to see the device. I want to see the UI, and I want to see it in practical use on a device that they're planning to sell to retail, sell to customers, and expect them. This is how we expect you to use this device with a foldable display, and this is what it's going to benefit you from it. Benefits are from it. Now, I'm not surprised by lukewarm reaction from the tech community because it doesn't have an Apple logo on it. If it had an Apple logo on it, they'd act like this thing is the next coming. They act like they reinvented the wheel. I'm just saying, it's just the honest truth. It's just Samsung puts out something really, really cool, pushes innovative in tech, and then we get this sort of lukewarm reaction. Let me remind you, we've been through this pace before. It's called the Galaxy Note. They had the same lukewarm reaction, and all those pundits got it shoved in their face when the Note 9 essentially changed the game on all big screen phones and on screens on phones in general. So I'm seeing Samsung probably doing the same thing again here with these curved displays, going through and changing the game once again with this. We'll hear the lukewarm reactions from the tech pundits because it doesn't have an Apple logo on it. And eventually I could see this coming out in a way where we're going to get some different unique devices on smartphones and on tablets and on some other things as well too. I don't think it's just restricted to that. We could see a lot of smart home devices possibly take advantage of these ways as well to do different things. But really, I'm more happy. I'm glad that the tech is out, and I'm glad that we could see it and it's real. We've known it's real for a while, but like here where we're actually doing it, and this is like the first cool new thing we've had in a while, and I'm really excited to see where it goes once they get a real device out there.
Okay, Juan, how about you?
Warren brings up a bunch of great points because I think it definitely goes hand in hand with something that we've been saying on this podcast for a while. If you're first, you're punished. And so Samsung actually isn't first to this notion of multi or bendy or combined screens. I mean, the Axon M was sort of an evolutionary missing link to making more screens on your device, creating a functional space out of that. I'm really curious to see because I feel if any company is going to do this well for a first gen product, it's going to be Samsung. I'm still not convinced that my lukewarmness doesn't I mean, obviously I'm not overly concerned with whether or not there's what logo's on there. My lukewarmness is we need to see the implementation. We need to see how the phone responds to utilizing this workspace. If the operating system is smart enough to keep up with it. Google's already said, well, we're going to start supporting foldables. We understand that foldables are going to be a market segment in the future, but that also sort of speaks to the fact that the current software that we use is kind of too dumb to understand when screen sizes, aspect ratios, and resolutions change. Yeah. And that's the big stumbling block on a phone like the Axon M, is you open the screens and it's like, well, we can mirror it. Right? That's cool. But how often do I really need a mirrored display? I want more workspace. I have to manually tell the phone, oh, by the way, you just got twice as much screen real estate. Let me use it.
No, well,
I'm sure Samsung can address that, but it's also, it kind of does speak to where tablets were originally. It's sort of a solution in search of a problem, and it doesn't really address some of the concerns that we've had with phones. I'm way more excited about Samsung taking a stab at cleaning up UI, better theming, better manipulation of data. You know, those types of things I'm way more excited to see on a traditional phone. And I hope that that gets pulled over from this foldable phone experiment, because those are the things that I think actually benefit all end users. The tech exciting hardware experiment is cool, and it's going to get headlines and it's going to look neat in videos. But the actual on the ground daily improvements and daily interactions, that's where I'm actually excited to see Samsung going.
And I wanted to add one more thing that I even meant to add before that, not to interrupt, but it's like when we're talking about OSs, I'd really like to see, this would make me excited if Microsoft with Windows 10 and how it's probably more on that adaptability in terms of what display it's on, really take advantage of this in some particular way, and maybe find a funky different way to create a surface. God, don't get back into the phone business because you guys are terrible at that. Don't even look at a phone. But any other device, I think it'd be pretty cool to see them take advantage. And with Windows 10 already being out there, and the idea of it being that it can adapt to multiple different displays, as long as it's not true 4K. But I really think it would. I think it'd be really cool to see that happen.
Sam.
All right, so everyone actually makes some really amazingly good points. The usability for the foldable display, I'm not too sure it's the best thing to call it a foldable phone. It's more of a foldable tablet. But phone, tablet, it's up to Samsung, whatever it wants to call its device. But I do think there's a use for this. There is a market segment for people who basically want that 7-inch tablet, which is, to me, perfect. What?
It's missing right now.
Yeah, it really is. It's the perfect form factor for a tablet. Yeah. And the last one that was out there was actually a Nexus device, and that actually the Nexus tablets are done.
Well, actually, it's out there. We just think of them as tablets like that.
So basically, having a tablet that can actually fold into a phone kind of kills two birds with one stone. I can see this being useful when it gets to the point where it's thin enough for you to be able to use it as your regular phone, and also foldable, where you can basically open it up and read an article instead of reading an article on a smaller screen. You can basically read in a tablet format and get more real estate out of that. Video, if you're basically traveling, instead of watching on a smaller screen, you unfold it. Wow, you can see bigger video. There is a use case for it, but it's not going to be basically first generation, or maybe even second generation. It might be the third iteration of this phone/tablet that people begin saying, oh, wow, this is actually pretty cool. And the fact that we have a foldable display on something like a phone that people use so much right now, can you imagine this being a foldable armband, a foldable, wallets, something where you can now get screens into places you might not normally think of getting screens into. And that's what excites me the most about this.
Well, and just imagine your field of view on something like a VR headset, when you can actually sculpt that with the appropriate lenses, as opposed to just like two flat panels that are sort of then warped by lenses. You could actually create something more immersive that way.
Yeah, or even current use right now. You know how you have to change the distance between the lenses? You can literally now change the shape of the lenses. That's kind of cool if we can get to that point. But yeah, I think the big news is really going to be just more usability from the UI side of things. Having UI that makes it easier for the consumers to basically get into, clean it up. I really feel bad for Microsoft because people are coming out with this dark mode now, and Microsoft kind of started that shit, but but where are they right now? So it's nice to see that other phones are adapting to things that make it easier for people to read, and also, less of an impact on battery life. It's been a long time coming. But I think at the end of the day, the easier it is for you to use the device, the easier it is for you to unify the experience across all your devices, the better the experience is going to be for the user. And I think that's probably going to be the most usable impact from the announcement.
Yeah, and we've got two great comments here from Aditya and Nil. One thing I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on: the bigger issue is the repair factor. You know, you're having so much Samsung proprietary tech. Samsung is going to be the only outlet, maybe LG techs too, but like, you know, would you be able to get something like this repaired without, you know, having to jump through a bunch of hoops? Is this going to be more disposable? And then to your point there too, Sam, we have iMac Tech, a device with this kind of functionality. We've seen Samsung pushing with stuff like DeX. Like, you can make an argument for a mini foldable tablet being your primary travel computer. If this is your main device handling communication, social media, media consumption, what about the battery? We've got 3 screens on this device, but it folds up to the size of a phone. How do we guarantee that you can actually utilize all of that tech and not be, you know, like attached to an external battery or to a charger all the time?
Carrying a car battery with you all over the place.
Right. I mean, a car battery.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting though when it comes to battery life for that kind of stuff. We'll see. I mean, you know, we'll see what they do with flexible batteries for that and what size batteries they're going to put. And if some of this tech is actually depends on, you know, because they're not using glass anymore. They stated that when they're using a different type of polymer on there. They said it makes it thinner and lighter for more space. So we'll have to see what all that pans out. So I think that's something that it's a wait and see. And probably in 3 years is where we probably get better battery life anyway from these things. But I think for me, I just like the fact that a 7-inch tablet is back. Like literally, I forget everything else. It was just when he opened it up, I was like, that's an Nexus tablet. That's an Android 7-inch tablet. And that's probably what will save tablets in Android as a whole. Because tablets are dead in Android. We know that, right?
Well, outside of Amazon's Kindle, which they have a 7-inch model, though.
Yeah, but it's not considered an Android tablet. Nobody considers it. Even people who buy it don't consider it as Amazon.
Do people consider Samsung devices Android tablets when they buy it? It's not like Google sits back and advertises Android tablets.
No, but I'm saying, but at least Samsung will call it. They still call it an Android tablet. I'm just saying that from them, the idea that, you know, there'll be 2 people who can do this easily. LG already stated they will have a foldable display showcased at CES. So LG is in the market for this. So at least they will be either making it or selling it themselves. And Samsung has showcased this. And we have that ability. I think what Samsung showcases what they did with the Galaxy Note. As much as the reaction is lukewarm, it's the same reaction of the Galaxy Note. It reminded me exactly of that because Samsung said then, we have a device that people want because especially in markets outside of the US, you cannot afford to buy a tablet and a phone. That's why the Note came about. Now, this truly is the successor to the Note in my mind because it literally gives you that real estate for, you mentioned DeX, for productivity. You slide in a pen in there somewhere as well, on one side. If you can introduce a kickstand somehow as well. I mean, there's so much you can do with this device that says, this is my portable computing. And going back to who was talking about Microsoft, and the fact that if, I think Warren, you talk about Windows on here. Windows, this is Microsoft's always connected device. If they were smart, this is the next always connected device. It's not a phone. It's not a PC. It's your device that's always connected. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here from what Samsung showed off with this display that I think it's making all my Westworld dreams come true in my mind because I've got that device that I think, granted, Westworld opens up like 10 times over, but that to me, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they use it. Plus, as you were stating, Sam, the fact that it's foldable now, maybe VR becomes a much more exciting space. Where you have displays that fit people's faces properly, and you can get the resolutions that you want. You can get it in smaller form factors. You can even have it for different devices around the home. Like we looked at the Google Home Hub can look more stylish now with a foldable display two-ended. You can have it as a tent pole or something. So I think there are a lot of benefits to this that I think. For me, a lot of techies didn't look past the fact that it was a phone that opens up. I mean, and that was my problem with a lot of people is that they couldn't just see the fact that, hey, look, it's a display demo, really just because they ran their OS on there. doesn't mean that it can't do more.
And I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little disappointed with the reception of it, because we all agree, and everyone who looked at it all agreed that this is pretty cool tech. And then they go, well, don't get it. No one's asking you to buy this right now. You can't buy this right now. So what's the point of saying don't buy it? If you like the tech, you want to go, oh, wow, I'm really interested to see what Samsung really, what the argument is for a product like this from Samsung. I'm looking forward to see an actual production device from Samsung. But it goes, oh, cool concept, but why do we need it? Like, really?
I mean, yeah,
is that where we're at right now?
It's quite evidence with MKBHD's video, where he starts off, but why though? And, I honestly didn't finish watching the video because I, as a techie, got offended.
Yeah.
Not because there's nothing wrong with his statement, but it was like saying, but why don't we have innovation? Why don't we try something new?
Yeah, it's getting really frustrating listening to people crying for like, well, we need something new, we need something fresh, we need something exciting. But then when it comes to our actual videos and reviews, we're going to tell you not to buy something unless it's exactly the thing that you've always used and totally understand 100%, and it's just got a faster processor. And that's getting really tiresome. That's getting really dull. I mean, we keep giving into that. And when we have an expectation that consumers should never have to change their behavior, that's another thing I'm getting real tired of. Is like, I was in the middle of another live stream in a podcast, and they're like, oh, well, why use these apps? Or, if someone's learned how to do video editing on one platform, like, well, but you can also do it over here and you can do that. Oh, but who's going to relearn? Who's going to learn how to do that? Like, well, they had to learn how to use the apps on one platform. Are you telling me they can't figure out how to change if they're going to make a swap or they're going to change ecosystems? And it sort of entrenched this lowest common denominator mouth breather idea of the average consumer. And I can't handle that anymore. We need to take some risks occasionally. And I seriously doubt that this is going to be a disastrous risk for someone who's looking for something innovative and looking for something fresh. If you're like a grandparent who wants like the most streamlined experience, well, yeah, I'm probably not going to recommend a folding phone to my grandmother for her next device. But that's because there's a huge spectrum of difference between her as an end user and all of the other people out there shopping technology.
Yeah. And I think this is going to be for the person, really. The people who are initially going to get these are the people in your family who are the ones who really start that conversation about technology. They're the ones who are going to have the first phones with the fingerprint scanner under the screens. They're the ones who probably bought the first flagship Notes or Note 9s or whatever. They're the ones who basically come home during Christmas when everyone's talking about how cool the Apple or how cool the other devices are, and you're like, oh, can it do this? And people are like, oh, maybe that's something I want on my next phone. Maybe that's something I should be looking for next time. It's just they're the ones who are going to start that conversation. It's not everyone that should buy something like this or should be into something like this. It's for the people who really want to be on that bleeding edge.
Yeah, I know. It is true, and I'm glad Samsung is taking these kind of risks, because at least it shows that they know that, okay, there are certain things they have to do as a manufacturer, as a brand, to put themselves out there. And just to move to the other topic, they showcase their new Infinity displays for next year. And Samsung and a lot of people are like, well, Samsung is going to have a notch. And yeah, they will, but that's all going to be on their budget devices. They showcased 4 displays: the Infinity V with a V-style notch, which is basically a small dimple V. There's the Infinity U with a new U-size notch. And then there's the Infinity O with an O notch in the corner somewhere. And then they showcased the Infinity display. No notch, thin bezels, or no bezels, or whatever it is. And I go, yeah, that's the Galaxy S10 display right there on the far right. And just your thought process on the fact that, okay, Samsung has accepted that there will be some notches on some of the devices, and also they will also have a device with no notch. Just general. Warren, what do you think?
It's just, they're a display company. They sell displays, so it makes sense that they would make notch displays to sell to the companies that want to put notches on their phones. And not only that, but probably offer some notches on their own devices as well, too, as they see fit. So to me, it's a smart play for them to to make a bunch to essentially get into this, make some money off of it, while still not having to do that on their main flagship phones. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Sam?
A notch is a notch is a notch. Doesn't matter if Apple does it. Doesn't matter if LG does it. Doesn't matter if Samsung does it. It's an ugly, lazy way to basically get the infinity display. I think Samsung is just being lazy. I think they're.
Wait. They've got one without a notch.
We've seen already this year. Good. They have one without a notch. That's amazing. Great. But we've seen already this year that other manufacturers have been able to use different kind of implementations of slide phones, of a slide kind of like of a slide module or whatever you want to call it, that basically, hides the camera, and you use, you can basically slide it out and use the camera. What's it? The Mix 3?
Yeah,
I can't Samsung do something like that. It's like innovate on the phone. Just carve a notch.
No, but remember, this is
Infinity V, Infinity U.
It's lazy. Before you get angry, this is still just displays. It has nothing to do with mechanisms. Yeah.
No, I get that. But this is basically saying that you need to have the camera in front of the phone. That's what they're saying right now. That you don't need to innovate in any way. Just put the camera where the camera always is and slap the screen and cut out the notch. It's lazy.
I say about all the other guys. I agree with Sam, because I feel like there's something that Samsung could be doing as a brand to tie their mid-rangers with their high-end phones with this new experimental folding phone. Samsung could be the company of multiple displays. I don't think so not to like fight you, Sam. I don't necessarily think that Samsung should give us sliders. That's not really ever been a part of their manufacturing style outside of, like, what was it, the Epic on Sprint, the Galaxy S1. That
was a long time ago.
That's one of the only, I think, slider parts or movable parts that they've ever made like that. But you could create an entire brand image around, our super high-end phone unfolds. You have, multiple screens. Our mid-rangers have a screen on the back. So why would you ever want to take your selfies with the inferior camera? We're giving you a second display, because the back of your phone is going to be made out of glass anyway. You might as well be able to use it for something. And now, look, you can take your selfies from the best possible set of cameras that we can do. And this would just go hand in hand with their initiative in delivering more of their bleeding edge tech, some of their multiple camera experiments to their mid-ranger phones. Continue that pressure, make the mid-rangers sexier and sexier and sexier, and then bam, at the high end, we've got radical new unfolding origami designs. That, I think, would do well to speak across the entire gadget spectrum. You would brand Samsung as being that multiple screen, multiple use kind of company. I think that would go a lot farther than like, oh, look at this infinity display, except for where the notch totally molests your screen. That's old. That's tired. And like, to Sam's point, I think that's lazy. I think that shows a lack of innovative design thought.
I don't think it's lazy. I think
it's lazy.
No, I mean, the notches are lazy. No. The notches are lazy.
Anyone delivering a notch in 2019 is lazy.
Yeah. The difference here is this, and I know the reason why Samsung made those three is one simple thing. They lost out a lot of money to LG this year. That's why. That's the only reason, because to me it seems like they went. If you look at the display itself, they're all the same, and they went, let's drill a hole here, let's drill a hole here, and let's drill a hole there, so we can sell it and make more money down the line.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I agree. Design-wise, it's lazy.
It's not exactly. It's not a screen issue. It's a design issue.
Yeah,
they could innovate their way around that, but just decided,
it's a money issue. That's what it is. That's the true issue here. Is they lost out. They lost out. No, I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying. I don't like a notch on the Google Pixel. I don't like a notch.
Oh, that's not a notch. That's a bastardization.
I don't like a notch on the iPhone, and I still don't like a notch on these screens. I just don't. Even that notch is a little much for me. It looks like someone's basically having a Count Chocula phone. Has a little divot in the head. Come on.
Count Chocula.
Oh
my god.
Because the Widow's Peak on like the Windows 6T. It's still okay. So I gotta say it's funny. this is still in the way. So like you full screen a game and it's still on the screen, but it is shocking how much better Android has handled the notch than iOS. I was firing up Ark, that dinosaur survival game, and there are menus that are obstructed on the iPhone, and there's no way to tell the iPhone like stop doing that or rein in the resolution or pull in the sides or anything like that. And at least Android, you can go like, hey, stop it, and pinch it out and like kind of hide it a little bit.
See, it doesn't take away from all that good anime action right there.
Oh, stop it.
That's it right there. That's it right there.
You're actually helping prove my point about
You know what would be actually cool though? I don't know. I'm just like, what would be actually cool is if putting your hands over the camera actually activated a UI while you were in full screen mode. Then I'd be like, oh, that's a useful feature. But no, they don't want to innovate. They just want to be lazy. So just carve a notch, put a camera.
I like, what was it? Was it last week we were talking about that other phone that had the dual screen? Yeah. The more I think about it, the more I really wish we could get to
the Nubia X.
Yeah. I mean, I just keep thinking like, how awesome would it be if I could flip over my V40 and not have those somewhat mediocre selfie shooters on the front, but have great composition guidelines, a screen showing me how I could line up the shot with the really awesome cameras on the back of that
watching anime.
No, I was just trying to show you the difference here. This is the Huawei. Oh, he missed part of his hand for that punch. I'm just saying though. I'm just saying.
But it's distracting because it's
yeah, no, it is distracting. I do agree. I mean,
and now a copyright claim.
I hope not, because I do that all the time in my videos. Like, instead of showing like the actual, like, I know I'll play the video on a phone and shoot video of the phone playing the video.
Because
that copyright
representation or a re-representation of what's going on with voiceover, rather than just a straight on.
As long as I don't play the audio, so far I've been fine. Knock on wood.
All right, let's move on. The iPad Pro finally launched. Apple's claim for this thing to be a laptop replacement is something that they stated quite well, as powerful as the Xbox One S in terms of performance. And I want to get your thoughts. I know I don't have one. I've seen other people's videos. I also would suggest people should go check out. Matthew Moniz did a live stream yesterday where he got as many accessories out, and he's like, all right, guys, let's see if we can make this a laptop replacement. And there was a lot of failure going on. There's a lot of failure going on in that whole idea of replacing your laptop. And what I've gathered, at least from the iPad Pro, is that, yes, it's got the fastest mobile processor out there. This thing is a performance beast on a mobile platform, but it's still an iPad. It's still a tablet. So I just want to get your thoughts on it. I'll start off with you, Juan. What do you think?
I'm sorry, did you say Juan or Warren? My ears are
Juan.
Sorry. No, that wasn't on you. That I'm literally saying like I'm getting about 70% of everything you guys are saying because I'm super congested. No, this is hearkening back to while I was still at Pocket Now when we reviewed the first generation iPad Pro. And my big task, the thing I wanted to try and accomplish during that review was, could I produce a video? Because that's my work. That's my profession. It's a pro product. This is how I'm going to interact with a pro product for my profession. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't get to that last finished, completed video. Years later, I've been able to do that much more effectively on Android without completely changing my workflow. The way that I go about shooting, organizing my files, recording audio, and assembling a video is easier to accomplish on Android. And a lot of that doesn't even really have to do with the specific video editing app. It has to do with the whole periphery of how we get work done. I'm shooting from several different phones and several different cameras and recording audio from different platforms and creating images on different screens, from computers to phones to tablets. When I assemble all of that content, it's the little things like the little quirks of file management. If I want to be able to do that well on an iPhone, I have to work in a very specific way that Apple has crafted that experience. And I can't really deviate. So if I didn't organize things just right, I might get stuck and be in a place where I can't finish my work. And on Android, I have that little bit of extra flexibility, even though some of the tools aren't quite as nice as they are in iOS land. When we get to this current iPad Pro and the argument that they're making that it can replace a laptop, I find that that argument can be true for a number of the services that have improved substantially in mobile apps. But kind of like some of my criticisms for the foldable phone, the iPad still somewhat represents a solution in search of a problem, and you can't know if it's going to be able to get your work done until you take one for a spin. And that's a lot of money to dedicate towards an experiment which may or may not succeed. But then after you've spent all that money, a lot of people are apt to keep it and then change their behavior to try and solve that problem, as opposed to saying, oh, you know what? This actually doesn't do what I need it to do in the way that I want to do it. Let me return it and go and get a MacBook instead. You know, that's always been where I've never understood how Apple gets to keep the reputation that they do. Because when we talk about having to change our behavior in Android land, well, that's a fail. Oh, you had to relearn something? You have to do something different? That's a fail. But Apple just charges you up front for that. Here's your Apple product. Change everything about the way that you've been doing business and do it our way, and then you're going to be so much happier. And that to me has always been sort of the disingenuous comparison between those two products. I mean, those two platforms. This is a huge opportunity that I think Microsoft is missing out on. I feel like they should be more competitive here, and it's on them that they're not. But in the meantime, I know a lot of people in my circles of family and friends who will probably take the plunge on going iPad as primary computer because of these claims. And some of them will be very successful with that. And I think some of them will be frustrated by it, but will probably still continue to use the iPad as if it could be some kind of laptop replacement.
Oh, yeah. Just quickly, just before you jump in, it just reminded me of my uncle. He had a coworker who told him the iPad could replace what they did at work. And he called me up. He said I should come to the house, came over, and he was very disappointed that he could not do work on his iPad. I actually laughed at my uncle for the first time in my life because so I had him over my first Surface, Surface One. And he was like, wow, I can actually do all my work here. I'm like, this is a computer. This is toy. There you go.
I mean, because it's not to say that, you know, like, this has been the frustration. I was actually just on this morning in the Surface subreddits, and like, there's so many things that we want from the iPad. We just don't want to sacrifice full x86 compatibility. You know, I stop trying to make this an artificial line in the sand between a mobile app-like interface and your full Windows desktop experience. If I'm on a Surface, I want better text scaling. I want better rotation. I want smoother transitions and animations. Like, Microsoft could be delivering this, but it seems like they're focused on creating that artificial barrier between x86 compatibility, legacy software, and then like, oh, but here's like Windows Go. No, it can only use like Windows Universal apps. Like, that's a false argument. That's a false dichotomy. We should be able to do both and have a cleaner, smoother, more fluid, prettier experience, even when we're using Windows legacy software.
Sam, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I agree with most of the things you said, Juan, and I think there's actually something that if you went a little further, you would have actually pointed out that this is, we're seeing two companies, two titans, basically approach the same thing from different ends. Mm-hmm. Microsoft is dumbing down a product which is pretty damn good, and Apple is trying to basically bulk up the products to bring it to the PC world. So it's like, what is Microsoft doing at this point? I think Microsoft really, really needs to, to take basically take a step back and say, oh, people really want a device like this. Can we make the Surface thinner? Can we make the Surface something that would that would look a lot more stylish and still give you productivity?
Foldable Surface. That's what I'm talking about.
Because I mean, look at what's the cheaper Surface right now?
Surface Go.
The Surface Go. You know, they played ball with certain hardware partners and certain manufacturers to make the Surface Go when they didn't really pick the best tools that they could have. At the same time that they've got, other manufacturers, like Qualcomm is making some surprisingly good arguments for. No, but think about it.
No. I meant it in a good way. Trust me.
But I'm saying Windows on ARM, and Microsoft is putting that effort towards making Windows run better on mobile chipset, mobile hardware, and then they don't show that with any confidence. You know, where's the Microsoft branded product that Microsoft is saying, we believe in this initiative and we're going to provide you a solution to take advantage of it. And then they're absent from that with a product that would have been perfect for that segment, the Surface Go. So again, it's Microsoft sort of halfway accomplishing something. You've got your Surface Book. That's a beautiful laptop. You've got your Surface Pro. I mean, they're there, but then they don't fully commit. They don't really keep putting the pressure on. They kind of dabble and then they get distracted and do something else. And then they go, oh, well, so much of our money is server side anyway. Maybe we'll just work on services again.
It's very interesting how they dabble and what they do. I mean, I just got the Razer Blade 15, right? Their new base model, which is $1,500. It now has it doesn't have a 4K display. It's a 1080p display. Performance wise, and what you get from that beats out the Surface Book 2 minus the display. And you get a full Ethernet, you get USB Type-C, you get Thunderbolt, you got 2 USB A ports as well. You get a terabyte of hard drive. You can open it up, put in your own 1 terabyte NVMe, and it's still cheaper because it's only $100 and something bucks in there. And you're going, okay, I get it, Microsoft, fine. You want to do a buffer where your OEM partners can make money underneath you. But fine, if you're going to price these devices that high, like you're going to spec it on, you're going to price it that high, then spec it out, right? Just make it look like it's Jesus came and blessed this laptop for me. And I'm going like, you know what, Jesus blessed it, it's cool. I'm good with that. But not do this thing where I'm like, I want to buy a Surface laptop too. It's a really good device. And I'm still going like, but why didn't you just add Thunderbolt? Why didn't you just do that? Why didn't you just have a model with a dedicated GPU, just for people who want that?
Yeah. Or why don't you just refresh the device, the design when you actually put out a refresh? They've kept the design the same for almost the last
6 years running.
Yeah. And it's like, I remember the first time I saw the Surface 2. What did I tell you? The 3, yeah. What did I tell you? It needs to have smaller bezels. If you can give me this thing with smaller bezels and thinner, it's a winner. And they just haven't changed since then.
I'll be curious to see how that plays out. Because I've only handled the new iPad Pro. I haven't really used it for anything. I don't like the smaller bezels. I don't like the bezel that's smaller than the side width of my thumb.
That doesn't on the phone, yeah, but on the laptop though.
No, but that's just it. Is what we're talking for a Surface, right? Like, I start to get concerned again about the usability and the practicality of that device being somewhat interrupted by the sexiness of the aesthetic. That doesn't necessarily, a sexier aesthetic doesn't necessarily mean that it's better design. I have those concerns. I'm not saying that a company can't pull it off and give me way better palm and thumb rejection and edge rejection. Like you could solve that problem. I just don't know that I have any confidence in their current manufacturers to solve that problem right now.
I mean, I would say the iPad has done it well. Oh, it's even when I hold tablets, I never put my finger on the screen. I have got bigger hands, so I grab and then my other hand just hooks on the side. But the iPad has done it well where you're not going to, unless you've got super fat fingers, and then it rolls over into the screen. So
kind of do though.
Okay.
But that's kind of but to Sam's point, that's exactly where, I'm not necessarily too concerned with Microsoft's aesthetic needing a lot of sprucing up, but they're missing these huge opportunities to actually target their audience. Yeah. I will not buy a Surface until I have Thunderbolt 3. I'm not going to do it. And you've got so many players in this space doing really innovative stuff. Why not have Surface compatibility for external GPUs and really modern workspaces that can utilize Thunderbolt and USB-C? And that's where I'm very concerned about Microsoft's lack of focus, lack of direction, because the Surface was way more successful than the Lumia line of Windows phones ever was. But we're seeing them play the same game. just as they're starting to get traction in one area, they sort of sit back for a couple years. Well, that's not how you drive, your market share. That's not how you appeal to consumers.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Warren? I know we've been just kind of
sorry, I got cranky.
going back and forth here, but any thoughts?
The thing is that I don't think Microsoft, like, people are looking at us like, well, why isn't Microsoft competing? Well, look at the price of the iPad Pro that they're trying to sell this against the Surface. Once they become very close within a similar price, there's a lot of people that might go, well, why don't I just get myself a full computing device? And I've already heard that at Full Time with a couple other people. We're talking about what we're going to offer to users. And we'll look at the iPad Pro and we're looking at the price and we're like, all right, this versus this Surface here, which is going to give us honestly more functionality out of it than what the iPad Pro is going to do for now, essentially to almost nearly the same price, and with far less dongles than you're going to need to be able to actually get things going, and a headphone jack and all other things that you get with a Surface. I look at this iPad Pro as, remember Microsoft did all those commercials against the iPad and about all these other things that the iPad couldn't do?
Yeah, I think it was like a Surface 4 commercial.
Yeah, and they were doing all these, trying to plug in a
click
and all that stuff. Apple's literally fallen into the trap of that commercial. And that's what they've done with the iPad Pro, is put it in that frame of that commercial. Now, Microsoft could have introduced USB-C and Thunderbolt 3. I am disappointed that they didn't put those things out there. But I think they haven't changed much because it's selling well, and they're selling to businesses very, very well. So you want to be careful about changing a design and aesthetic too much when you're in that space, because if you do, you're going to hear you might get a lot of, feedback and a lot of backlash from that. I mean, look at Lenovo when they tried to change the ThinkPad. I think.
That is true though.
Remember when they tried to change the X1 Carbon and add that touch strip on top of it? Do you know how many people complained about that? I mean,
that's because they took away the function buttons, which were useful. They added a strip.
Yeah,
which
that's
was
the wrong
goddamn
audience.
stupid.
The ThinkPad audience is not who you impress with flashy control bar stuff.
They didn't take away the function buttons. You could still get to the functions that were.
No. They took away the function buttons.
They were still there. They were still there for you to be able to
use. You just had to use a strip to access the buttons that you could push in the first place.
Well, but even then, most laptops were already putting the function buttons in the position where you had to hit a function.
Yeah, you had to hit a function key to use it. Yeah.
Anyway, so it made sense to let's do this. And now they can just hit one button and they can just kind of go up there and do what they want to do with it. But you saw what happened when they tried to do that.
I was one of the people who were pissed at that one. I would say that I was.
Apple didn't get away with the touch bar thing, but for I think they got backlash from that as well too. Do you hear them talk about that thing anymore? They don't. It's
there, but they just skip it.
They skip it. That's when you're dealing with things such as a hardware device that's selling into not just consumers but also selling heavily into business, and heavily. I mean, they're buying maybe. A small business might buy 50 to 100 a year. Then you have some of these bigger enterprises that are buying 10,000 of your product. You got to be kind of careful when you're changing those things and swapping those things out and making different design changes. So I understand in some ways why Microsoft is kind of in the position that they're in. I do think, however, that if they are making a new Surface next year, we do need to see a Thunderbolt or USB-C, some type of port on there.
If it doesn't have, if it doesn't, I mean, it's not even just it doesn't have Thunderbolt. The funny thing is, the Surface Go, has USB-C.
Yeah,
it has USB-C.
To upgrade it to USB-C. Yeah.
And so they need to have USB-C. And the other trick with that is that if they add USB-C, people are going to expect them to be able to charge and also use that as well too. And Microsoft has had this one set of charger for so long that people stock up on these things because people lose them. Trust
the Surface Go has both ports,
and nobody buys the Surface Go.
No. I'm not. It's not the buying part. It's the fact that they could do it. So for me,
I don't think they want to include both because that's an added cost.
I don't think they should include both.
I think they want to get rid of one of them.
Yeah. No, all I'm saying is that if they've done it, it means you now have the option to do either or. So don't do none. My problem is that with the Surface Go, they told us, we're accepting USB Type-C, right? And then when it came to the Surface Laptop 2 and the Surface 6, they went, no, we're not even doing any. We're not either going to put both or take one away. We're just going to just leave it the same. That's the problem. That's where the big problem is.
I don't call it a big problem. I call it that they have to be careful with the way they change that. See, they could do that on the Surface Go because that also has lower spec hardware, lower cost.
No, but you could do it
both on there. They have
you could actually throw both on the, if you're thinking of businesses, right? You can throw both on there. It would still work with the same dock. It's just that there will be nothing going into that port there for the USB Type-C. So if you're really thinking about businesses, then you add it, you don't remove, and then the businesses will go, oh, okay, cool. There's an extra port.
They still want to make money off of it, and there's still the cost of having to have that on there and continue to support that on there.
Well, next year they have to put USB Type-C. So
I mean, yeah, they have to, but I really think they not only they have to, but they got to cut that proprietary charger out. So they got to prepare people that have been using that.
Yeah,
for a long time.
To prepare, you could have easily added one in there now this year, and then people will know that next year. Oh, this is great. Samsung with the Galaxy Book 2 powered by Snapdragon 850. It's got 2 USB Type-C ports. You can charge with either one. You can transfer either one. I was like, this is just a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame that Microsoft can't do this. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I think getting back to the iPad Pro. Seriously, the more I look at this, the more I'm a little perplexed. Like, really, this thing doesn't really have a lot of the functionality I've come to expect from my Surface, really. Just from the pen. Just start off with the pen, right? You start out with the pen. Where are the buttons on the pen that I can use for, right or left click when I want to select something? Or maybe
there is one button right now. You can switch between eraser and pencil. There is a button on there, so at least it's going to be remappable for whatever.
Yeah, but is it would it open shortcuts?
This is the iPad, man. Stop talking about shortcuts, man. What's your problem?
Well, that's part of the things you want to think about. Because right now on my Surface, I double click that end button and it opens up OneNote, and I can start writing.
Why are you thinking like a PC user, man? Come on.
And then you look at the keyboard. Doesn't even have a trackpad, so I actually have to have a physical mouse. As bad as or as small as I think the keyboard.
Well, there isn't really a mouse in the iOS interface like that. But because you're doing that, your mouse is built in.
Well, it's the same thing in the Surface. My mouse is built in, but it's very different to be able to basically type while you're typing a document, then go on your screen and then reposition the cursor and keep typing. It's a whole flow. So there are a few things here like, did Apple really think this stuff out for people who actually
it's not productivity
or
it's not a matter of thinking. I mean, like literally,
they're getting beat up by the Surface in this sort of tablet space. So that's why this exists.
And I think that's what I'm trying to point out. It's very reactionary.
Oh yeah, really what I'm saying before. They fell into that commercial that Microsoft was doing. They fell into it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it was actually really fun watching Matthew Moniz' video because he literally was plugging stuff, especially live where fans are going, but it's supposed to work with it, and he's like, nope, unless you have an app. Like everything with iOS also is there must be an app associated to using anything for external access. So what are you using a microphone? It's going to show up. You must open a music app that will actually work with it, or especially hard drive. So if you're working with multiple device, like you were talking about, Juan, working with multiple devices to record, getting all
still a pain, yeah.
And then he showed some of the file system, which I haven't seen in iOS in a while. It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess to just manage files, which is one of the biggest things.
Dude, on regular on their desktop in the OS X. It's crazy. It's always been crazy to manage files and folders on Apple.
It sucks. And it's always sucked. They love to make excuses like it's supposed to be easy. No, your Finder sucks. It's the poor man's version of File Explorer. It sucks. It sucks. And you had to think different to use it.
As embarrassed as I am saying this, I have never downloaded anything on an Apple desktop that I've been able to immediately find where it downloaded to. To this day, I have not been able to do it. It's embarrassing, but that's how weird it is when I use an Apple product. So like, I don't even know where it downloaded to.
Wow.
That's not surprising.
It just works.
It just works. It just installs itself and shows up, and you're supposed to just kind of magically know where to go.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of fact that Apple, like you said, is being reactionary, and they fall into that mold, and we'll see how they take it. I think what is getting a lot of people, because I had this argument with Danny, and I said, look, yeah, the processor is fast in there. I said, and he was talking like, they should move this. This should be in an iMac, and I was like, I get it. I get the idea. I really do get the idea, because that's probably what they're thinking too, is that we need to get that iPad to feel like not iMac, sorry, a MacBook Air, to feel like a MacBook Air. The problem is you can't run x86 software. And even what Adobe has done with Photoshop, Adobe stated they had to rewrite the whole thing out, right? So it's really not the same software port. Plus, there's only so much that mobile hardware can do. And I think Qualcomm's processor has shown us what they can do. Then again, Windows itself had to change a lot of kernel just to meet that ARM sensibilities, if you will. But I see Warren Day is holding his thoughts. So it's about to leash the dogs. Go.
A mobile processor is not the same damn thing as a desktop processor. If you call yourself a tech pundit and you sit there and say that, I don't respect your tech knowledge. Come on. You should know better than this. That's basic 101. And I kept hearing that. You should put this processor inside of a Mac. Really? Really? Go benchmark that against an Intel, like, God, benchmark it against a Core i5. Shit, benchmark it against a Core i3. See what happens. See what happens in those benchmarks. Two different sets.
It's got 7 GPUs though.
No, I was going to say, try and do two things at the same time. Again, I'm perfectly willing to concede that whatever monster workstation I build will probably lose in some single application type of benchmark comparison. But what I am hoping to achieve is, not only will I not suffer much performance loss while doing that one thing, I could still have 4 other things going on and have those running at optimal conditions with this type of hardware and this type of support. That's where I do agree with Danny. Like we said this months ago. I really hoped that they would revive the MacBook name by giving us an iPad clamshell. Kind of like what Microsoft tried to do with the Surface and the Surface Book and the Surface Laptop. You have those different varying things. You could do the tip of the spear, the first generation, the way to transition, because we know so much more money is coming into Apple from iOS than from Mac OS. So much more money. And this is why they're pushing consumers to think that the iPad could be a true laptop replacement. But why do you have to punish your consumers like that? Build an iPad with a hinge and a proper keyboard and touchpad and pencil support, and you still have the touchscreen. You can make it like a Lenovo. You can claim you invented the flippable, foldable laptop. Fine. But that is actually a better solution for consumers than what they're trying to sell them right now. There's so many people out there that still need a proper laptop clamshell form factor.
Yeah, I think one of the things I was telling them, I was like, look, I get that, but here's the thing. One of the best editing softwares, at least in terms of speed, is Final Cut.
Oh, no. Yeah. So sorry. The reason why I'm bringing this up is MacBook Pro, video editing, multitasking, bam, you've got it all. MacBook, go fight Surface Go fight Chromebook and Chrome OS. MacBook, not MacBook Pro, MacBook running iOS. Crazy great battery life. You already have everything in place for always connected LTE designs. You could include a significantly larger battery. You just add a little bit of support for something like a human interface driver, which is hilarious that the iPad does not support proper HID. But then you just push everyone over to the premium version of what a Chromebook should be. You don't want one of those $300 Acers. right? You want something that that's really nice and it's really well built, and it's got the Apple logo on it and it looks just like a MacBook Air. So you're not going to be sort of laughed out of the coffee shop when you're writing your screenplay. There was such a huge opportunity there for them to not punish their consumers there, but we've already seen Apple's going to make way more money selling you the screen and then selling you the attachment to click on your keyboard and then selling you the pencil so that you can fine point control on the screen. You don't want to use a mouse. That would be silly. So now when we get a new pencil, you'll have to buy the new pencil and the new tablet that supports the new pencil. You can't use the old tablet with the new pencil, and you can't use the new tablet with the old pencil because it just works. So this is, again, Apple is extracting as much wealth by breaking the basics when they could have delivered the refresh to the MacBook name, and they could have delineated. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not even MacBook, iBook. So you have Mac with Mac OS, iBook with iOS. That's what it was. Now I remember what it was that we were talking about.
Yes,
bring back the iBook. Bring back the iBook with iOS, MacBook and MacBook Pro with Mac OS, and that's the perfect way to split the audiences right there.
I've got the best answer for you from Pop Culture Fate 29. He said, simply buy Wayne Tech. That's all you need to do. I mean, look, I definitely hear you with that. I totally forgot the fact that, with the Surface, you can use the Surface Pen from, I think, at least from the Surface 2 all the way up, if I'm not mistaken. You just can't. Can you use the new ones now too? Right? You can, right?
As far as I know, I mean, because the thing is, like, as long as you built it on a proper standard, you can use any Note stylus with any Samsung, because it's just a proper HID supported Wacom digitizer stylus. We're not. Again, this is what's so frustrating is Apple has been shown that their consumer base will follow them down these types of experiments. And now they're turning up the heat, because I kind of feel we're all in that place. You know, the state of mobile is starting to plateau. So this is the right time to turn up the heat on trying to extract as much money out of your locked in consumer base as you can before the market gets disrupted. And when I see something like the Apple Pencil is not built on compatible standards to move you back and forth, and the new Apple Pencil doesn't even come with a replacement tip in the box. You have to go and buy the 4-pack for $20 if you want to replace the tip on your super expensive stylus.
Oh, really?
Like, that nickel and dime BS is exactly the type of move that I see Apple engaging in, because that's how they're padding their profit margins. When, to me, that's kind of consumer hostile. That's now insulting to people that are really investing in your ecosystem. It doesn't affect me because I'm not invested in Apple's ecosystem, but I'm looking at my family, I'm looking at my friends, I'm looking at the people that took Apple at their word, and now they're having to pay more and more and more and more. What was the stat? It's something like every single Apple product this year took a 15 to 20% bump. Like, every Apple product that sold this year that got a refresh is now 20% more expensive than the product it replaced. And I doubt anyone can make the good faith argument that those products are really 20% better to your lifestyle, 20% better to your workflow.
It's all about that cash, baby. Getting that money, getting everything they can milk out of it. I'm still waiting for them to the next package of stuff to remove the headphones that they include with it. So all you get literally is the iPhone, or is just that device, and you want anything, you gotta buy outside of it.
Considering my crusade on consumer audio stuff, I really wish that they hadn't included the earbuds and that they had just stuck with the headphone adapter, because then you could use whatever headphones you wanted without an additional fee, and you wouldn't be subject to using headphones that don't work with any other Mac product that are also likely to encourage hearing damaging listening habits. So you get to subsidize Apple's cheapness with your own health. And you'll just foot the bill for when you need, hearing aids sooner than you might have otherwise.
Well, they'll supply those too. Here, Apple hearing aids. They'll definitely supply those.
You can apparently use the AirPods. You can just shove your phone mic into someone's mouth, and then the mic on your phone will boost the signal to your AirPods. Nothing could go wrong with that.
Oof.
Yeah, and on that note of Apple-ness, we are ending the show right now. So we've come to the part of the show where we find out what everyone has on their channels currently now.
Can we do a quick update on the story we had last week?
And according to Sam, we need to hold that thought and do an update from the story.
No, I just wanted to give a quick update because a lot of times it's very difficult to see what happens after people walk out on a job, after people basically.
Oh, Google's
Yeah.
So Google has come out.
Actually, that's a good point, Sam.
Yeah, Google has come out with a few changes to its, I guess, arbitration rules when it comes to basically, settling these cases related to sexual harassment and whatnot. They've now stopped the requirements for private arbitration. And off of this, we're also seeing places like Facebook stop the requirement also for forced arbitration. So this is a net good at the end of the day, because now people can actually go and get lawyers and go to court and actually sue these companies. And these people who are perpetrating this kind of activity can no longer hide behind these private arbitration agreements. So I think that's a huge win. And just to see it turn around so quickly, it just shows that when people speak up, even if it's not every single one in the city or whatever, just you standing up with your coworkers and saying, hey, we want better terms, we want better treatments, it actually has an effect.
Yeah, it's definitely, I applaud all the people who stood up and protested at different locations, offices at Google. I think it was about, I could be wrong, 20,000, 30,000, right? Employees, something like that, which is a sizable chunk for the organization. So it got them to say, okay, look, we can't do this. Like, it's just something we need to fix. So that's a very good thing.
True story.
Yeah. And Adita Nil also says, whoa, I just realized I'm really angry at Apple. This podcast is therapy.
If you want to watch his name, the guy that does repairs, he's real Apple therapy.
Louis Rossman, yeah. Oh.
He's on one man to take them down. Like he does not care.
And if you guys are looking for a really cool tech, this week, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation came out with a very interesting product or a very interesting technology, which is kind of whatever. It's kind of like joking, haha, whatever, but it is a self-contained toilet that you don't have to hook up to the water systems. And this is for places where your water systems or your piping isn't being fully developed, or for third world countries that don't have the same kind of sewage systems that we do. It basically enables people to process waste right at the level of the toilet. So if you guys want to check that out, I guess it's called the, oh man, I'm looking for the name here. Just research Bill and Melinda Gates new toilet. You guys will find it. It's actually a pretty cool stuff.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks for that addition, Sam. Now we kick it off to our regular programming and finding out what we have on the channel, what we could expect next week. We start off with Juan Bagnell so that Warren can have some time.
So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to completely finish off my V40 camera review. The script is done, but I've been really sick, and my face is just starting to kind of heal back up from another psoriasis flare up. So that will hopefully be done early next week. I've got some OnePlus 6T videos coming out, just addendums to the audio performance and the camera performance, some of the changes that we've seen with OnePlus between the 6 and the 6T. I've got a video coming out probably tonight, just talking about some of my experiences with iPhone XS cases. So there's going to be a lot coming down the pipe. I have to throw that other shout out there. Yesterday we did another Geek Book Club, talking about a Star Wars expanded universe novel, the introduction of Admiral Thrawn. So you can catch that on my personal channel too, Geek Book Club. And then I just want to put it out there. I work for Newegg. I host one of their shows. It's a very retail-y show. So please feel free to take this with a grain of salt. But over this month of November, and whether or not you shop with Newegg or you shop through some other retailer, if you're into the tech space and you're looking at your gadgets, your electronics, I would highly recommend. I'm going to reiterate what we talked about at the top of the show. I'm going to highly recommend that you look at your budget and you see what it is that you might have shopped later in the year or early next year, because I do feel we are going to see a consumer pinch on those tariffs coming the beginning of the year. So we're going to have a bunch of sales on stuff at Newegg for Black Friday. We're going to do that. But regardless of where you're doing or where you're shopping or what you're trying to buy, start budgeting now, because stuff is probably going to start getting more expensive next year.
All right, cool. Thank you. Warren.
So hopefully next week coming up, I'll finally have my Pixel sort of review, Pixel 3 XL review sort of thrown out there for everybody to kind of see, check out, and give you my thoughts on that. I'm hoping to also get maybe some information on this new TV that I have sitting here on the side. It's the Samsung, but I always forget the name. Q9F, there we go.
Q9F, sorry.
Yeah, because I know I think I mix up the model name all the time, but the Q9F so far, it's looking pretty good on there. But that's a couple of things that I'm planning to hopefully have out next week.
Cool. Wonderful. I was caught unawares there. I thought it was longer. Yeah. On my end, just 3 videos this week. We had a should I buy segments on the Pixel 3 XL, a device that, of course, a lot of people are excited to see. It's got that awesome set of cameras. But the question is, should you actually buy it? Now, whether it's a good device or not. So definitely check that video. It's a new series we've started with a few devices, and we'll have a few more coming up as well. I think it's important because sometimes you look at reviews and a device may be reviewed well, but doesn't mean you should actually buy it. So that's that. We also have a video explaining Samsung's Infinity Flex display, which is their foldable display, just covering the announcement. So if you want to get some more information about that, what else they announced there, definitely go check that out. We have a video on the Galaxy Book 2. It's titled The Future Laptop, and some people may not agree with me or may agree with me, and I don't necessarily say that it is the future laptop. There are question marks at the end, but there's a lot of technology in this device that at least begs you to think about where you want your laptops to be in the future. So I think it's worth checking out, so definitely go ahead and see that. In terms of next week, I think I'll be putting up my 30-day review, actually more than 30 days, on the iPhone XS Max. Also, we're doing a 90-day on the Galaxy Note. We're going to have at least one gift guide up next week, sometime next week. And I have another should I buy segment for smartwatches. So, yeah, I mean, I might infuse some of Sam's thoughts in there. And if you know what his thoughts are on smartwatches, you know where some of the segment goes. But it's also going to be a mixture of what we all consider smartwatches. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I didn't mention this earlier, but we are going to do a giveaway. Yeah, I know, right? It's the holiday season. It's nice and cold. Actually, not nice, but it's cold. And it's time to, give out some stuff. I've got something here. I've got a gaming headset. This is the, here we go. This is the Astro A10. This is a really solid gaming headset, and I figured somebody here is going to win. I just want to pick the winners. So while we're picking the winners, Warren's going to sing a song just to keep you entertained. I'm just joking.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that.
Yeah. So, I mean, both Sam and Juan, could you leave your thoughts in the group chat so we can, I know I sprung this last minute. I apologize. So.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. But so while you guys are doing that, I can say the qualities of this headset. Oh, no, besides the headset, you see my shirt. Look at Ant-Man right here. It's coming out of my pocket. Wow. Didn't you know that?
On my screen, it's actually blocked by the little square boxes.
Whatever. Yeah.
Because I like Warren's pick too, but I don't know if.
Yeah, I think we will go with. I think we have a. So basically, this is the inside. There are 3 different candidates for the winner right now. So
I want you to know I did my random mouse scroll wheel thing.
Same with me. I did my random someone who likes the same thing I do.
Yeah.
I just looked at the screen. That's the first thing that popped up.
Oh, did you even read the comments of any one of these people that you guys selected?
Oh,
Oh,
I did.
The one that I picked, I landed on a comment about camera tech. So that was like right up my alley.
And the person I picked just likes the same device that I do. So.
Okie dokie.
All right, so I mean, are we down to those two then? Is it between Sam and I?
Yeah.
Do you want to flip a coin?
Yeah, let's flip a coin. Let me. Oh, I don't have a coin here.
I've got a quarter right here. I can flip a quarter.
All right, you flip it and then just let me know who's won. Sorry for this exciting.
Well, no. Someone needs to write who's who.
Okay.
No, do we want Sam to call it in the air?
Yeah, Sam, you call it.
No. God dang it. Okay, go for it.
Just pick your heads and your tails. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3.
Tails.
And it's tails.
All right, so who's just type in your tails there so I know who it is.
So no, Sam's pick.
Yeah, Sam, your pick. Okay, so the winner is NMAC. Congratulations. You've won the Astro A10 headset. I'm sorry it took so long to pick you as the winner because we are super indecisive here.
I just want to say, sorry, Flukesy. I really tried to pull that for you. For you. My coin flipping skills weren't manipulative enough. Yeah. Sorry.
I just have to support my Note 9 brothers and sisters out there.
I see. So NMAC, if you can send me a private message here on YouTube, go ahead. Which most likely is not the case, just leave your Twitter handle and I'll contact you directly on Twitter. So just let me know what your Twitter handle is and I'll reach out to you right now. And yeah, congratulations. You get the A10 headset. So hopefully that helps you in the holidays with all the awesome games that are out there right now. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching the show. It's been fun. And definitely check out all the channels. You can check out Mr. Warren Bowman at bw1.com. Its website is bw1.com. All his social channels are bw1.com. Check out his content there. And also, you can follow Mr. Juan Carlos Bagnell at Some Gadget Guy. He's got a website. He also is Some Gadget Guy on all the social handles that merit anything, including IGTV, where we're waiting for his second video. And
don't hold your breath.
And also, he hosts a show on Newegg on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. So you can check him out there. And Sam is _man. You can find him on Twitter and on Instagram. Follow him on that handle. Myself, it is Boored at Work. And Mac, I am waiting because once I end this, I cannot view your Twitter handle. So please submit your Twitter handle before we end because it's going to be in 30 seconds.
He's desperately trying to create a new account on Twitter.
And Mike's like, no, I'm creating an account now. Or you know what? Just hit me up on Twitter. Don't know my Twitter handle.
You don't know your Twitter handle. See, Flukesy, I'm so sorry.
You know what? This is perfect because that's exactly the kind of stuff I would say. Like, what's my Twitter handle again?
And Mike, okay, are you on Instagram? If you're on Instagram, let me know. This is hilarious.
Awesome, man.
It's like we're trying to give you something.
In the meantime, I'll be trying to grow out my beard over the next few weeks.
Oh,
so you guys get to follow me on my third time attempt at growing a beard over the last 3 years.
This is going to be as bad as the East attempt.
Yeah, my attempt was terrible.
Oh man, this is harsh. Me trying to grow a beard.
I am actually going to grow back a fro if possible. I've done that many times in the past. So yeah, MMAC says he doesn't have Instagram. MMAC, what's going on, bro?
Man, the guy just like to
find YouTube.
Huh?
How did he find YouTube?
How did you find this?
Oh, come on.
No.
I'm not gonna blame someone.
Okay, can we just say how useless this is? So I go to MMAC's page here on YouTube, and doesn't give me an option to send him a message.
Yeah, this has been a little.
It's been a problem with YouTube, doing stuff like that.
Oh my!
People who don't really use it. See, this is why Google is like really weird, man. They could have made Google Plus into something that was actually useful. Now, this is what has to happen for people to get information. To get information to someone who's using your platform. So just communicate with them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
This is
Okay, NMAC, just go to our contact page and send me an email now, I guess.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's perfectly fine. It's because you seem to value your privacy, and it's okay. You don't have to take the prize if you don't want it, but you can always reach out to via email if you go to the site page, or you could just. Can he send you a private message on here? Oh, he can't. We just talked about.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to find a way to send him a message.
They have a contact page.
There's a contact page on. Just email me at contact@Booredatwork. That's the contact email. So
I'm trying to look now.
Yeah,
I'm so glad we're still doing all of this live.
I know, right? we're troubleshooting.
We have to.
What NMAC? What is that handle?
Is that a Twitter?
Twitter. Yes.
Yes.
How much you want to bet there's the one at the end? Because they needed to make.
Oh wait, no, NMAC, is that correct? Because I can't find you here. I just copy pasted. Oh, I did. I found it. Never mind. All right. NMAC, I have to follow you, and you have to accept so I can send you a message because it's private.
Oh Jesus!
I'm trying to make this work here.
This is my favorite timeline.
Seriously, I'm quite sure they didn't expect to be the center of attention at the end of the show.
Yeah,
sure. Especially with NMAC with tweets protected. We're really not trying to call you out. So sorry.
Yeah. We're not. But I just followed you, so add me, and then I can exchange info and send you the prize. So. Awesome. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the end of the show as much as the whole show.
I certainly did.
And join us next week.
That was an adventure
at 3 p.m. And always enjoy entertainment.
Yeah.
Bam.
And this is proof that this is really random.